CONELRAD broadcasts, will you be alerted before a raid. Only through CONELRAD will you receive authentic information on what to do during and after an attack. CONELRAD is for your safety should an enemy attack. Know what you must do. If you do not, you may have no second chance.
Please stand by. This has been a CONELRAD radio alert test demonstration. The program No Second Chance was written by Jack Kessler, directed by Eric Howlett, and produced for the National Office of Civil Defense by WJR Detroit. Our program cast appeared through the cooperation of the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists.
From 1955, No Second Chance. And that gives you an idea pretty much of why it all happened. In a moment, we'll have an episode of a program called By the People from 1959, which also goes into what CONELRAD was all about.
Do you know what it takes to be iconic? You are iconic. I am iconic. I love Iconic Agua. I drink Iconic Agua every day. Join the movement. Hydrate with Iconic Agua. Find Iconic Agua in all Kroger and Ralph stores across America. Because when you're thirsty, there's only one way to hydrate. And that's with the world's best tasting spring water on earth. Hydrate responsibly. Iconic Agua, where hydration meets greatness.
Calling all bargain hunters, Angela Warner from Warner Stellian with a sale you're not going to want to miss. The Real Deal clearance sale starts this weekend. We're talking hundreds of appliances marked down to cost or even below cost. Floor model French door fridges, overstock laundry pairs, you name it, we've got it. And the prices are unbeatable. This is your chance to score big on the brands you love and even the luxury brands that never go on sale. But hurry, these deals won't last forever. Real Deal clearance sale starts this weekend only at Warner Stellian stores.
Owning a rental property sounds like a dream until you realize how much work goes into getting it ready. Determine a competitive rent price, market the property, schedule the showing, screen tenants, draft up the lease, set up rent collection, handle maintenance requests, maintain tenant communication. Whew, sound complicated? Renters Warehouse is here to take the hard work off your rental to-do list. Qualified tenants? Check. Rent collection? Check. Maintenance coordination? You got it. Go to renterswarehouse.com for a free rental analysis to find out how much your home can rent for. Or call 952-444-6996 because from now on, the only thing you need on your to-do list is to call Renters Warehouse.
Friends, this is Bob Hope. If an atom bomb were to hit your home city, would you know what to do? Remember, one explosion of an atom bomb could kill 75,000 and maim 100,000. This is only one kind of a disaster which could strike. In addition to many forms of enemy action, there are the dangers of fire, flood, earthquake, and traffic. Knowing what to do before, during, and after a disaster can improve your chances of survival. There is something you can do and do now. You can learn a pattern of survival. Your local Office of Civil Defense is ready to help. Persuade your club, your church, your friends, and your neighbors to help to learn to live. Remember, this is the atomic age. No one can escape its hazards, but everyone can prepare. Listen carefully. What you are about to hear can save your life. Do you know the siren signal in case of atomic attack? Do you know how to find shelter? Do you know how to give first aid? Do you know what will be done for your safety? For further details, consult your local Office of Civil Defense.
And now on our special Classic Radio Theater podcast, we go to 1959 for a program by the people talking more about CONELRAD.
That government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. The Federal Civil Defense Administration presents by the people.
Hello. My name's Dan Taylor. I'm a newspaperman, a roving reporter. My beat, the world. My assignment, total defense. Anything and everything that has to do with the defense of our nation, our people, our way of life, our property against disaster. Any disaster, natural or man-made. I was up in Key City going over material with my editor, Bruce Wagner. I'm on the move a good deal of the time, and things move quickly in the swift-moving times. So sometimes I miss out on vital changes.
You mean you didn't know about it?
No, I didn't, Bruce.
The order was adopted at the end of 1957.
Well, that's when I started working for the Key City Chronicle, and you?
Well, I'll admit you've been pretty tied up. But things are beginning to shape up now. It's time you got with it. From here on in, CONELRAD, designed primarily for use during enemy attack, is going to be used for natural disaster as well. And that, Dan, is a story. Dan, are you with me?
Oh, sure, of course. I was just thinking. You know, Bruce, I could go down to the FCC and do something on CONELRAD and natural disaster, but...
But you think CONELRAD is so vital it deserves the whole treatment?
Exactly. Ask the man on the street what he considers a weapon for defense, personal defense. He'll say gun, knife, bayonet. Maybe he'll even think in slightly bigger terms. Missiles, air-to-air rockets, interceptor jets. But CONELRAD? Just sound? A voice coming from his kitchen radio or his car radio? I don't think one person in 1,000 would think of it that way.
And yet, in the last analysis, if we're ever up against that nuclear war, CONELRAD will save more lives than any weapon that ever came off a drawing board. Yes, you do that story on CONELRAD, the whole story, Dan. This is one weapon for defense everyone can handle, including little children.
CONELRAD. Plan for Control of Electromagnetic Radiation. CONELRAD for short. Devised by the broadcasting industry and the government working together to disseminate official information and civil defense instruction in times of emergency. The voice of CONELRAD. Your weapon against enemy attack. The unleashed fury of nature. The dangers of radioactive fallout. Your ally to guide you to food, safety, shelter. To keep your morale high by keeping you in touch with facts, the true facts. I headed straight for Colorado Springs and NORAD, the North American Air Defense Command, the nerve center of communications for our air defense, fighting forces, and to our people, should the day ever come. I knew precisely where I was going, to the huge windowless combat operations center. The center of the vast communication system. There on the dais, with other observers watching the enormous plotting board, was the man I was looking for. Fred Albertson, the Federal Civil Defense Administration Attack Warning Officer.
Dan Taylor. Hey, you're getting to be a regular visitor these days. What now?
CONELRAD. This time, you're my feedline.
Well, you walked in at just the right moment. I'm taking a break. Jim Roberts over there is sitting in for me. Let's have some coffee, shall we? And I'll tell you everything you want to know. Dan, suppose we use the old question and answer techniques to get the ball rolling, and then we'll put the pieces together. How's that?
Great. And I'm not sparing you, Fred. I'm going to ask questions I think I know the answers to. But I want to be sure my facts are still right, see? Now, when attack is probable or imminent and the Civil Defense Air Raid warning is declared, how does the man on the street know it?
Two ways. If he's listening to a radio, the program is interrupted by the announcer who says, "We interrupt our normal program to cooperate in security and civil defense measures as requested by the United States government. This is a CONELRAD radio alert," and so on.
Now, if he's not listening to the radio?
Well, he'll know because civil defense sirens or other warning devices will be blasting.
Now the man on the street's response.
Yeah, he should immediately tune a standard AM radio to 640 or 1240 and listen for instructions from authorized officials as to civil actions to be taken. Rumors, conjectures, panic, they all go hand in hand. The truth and only the truth can set the wheels of defense going properly. And the source? CONELRAD, the voice of official information and civil defense instruction in time of possible disaster.
Fred, a lot of people have asked me why CONELRAD. Why not just official announcements on regular radio wavelengths? Why 640 or 1240?
Because we learn from experience, Dan. See, we know from the past that enemy bombers can tune their direction finders to a broadcast station and beam right to their targets. Now, what good would civil defense instructions be if those very instructions helped the enemy to spot the exact location of the city they wanted to attack?
Well, many people think it'd be safer if radio and TV went off the air completely.
Well, sure, radio and TV could go off the air completely, but think of the cost. Think of the millions of people who know catastrophe's imminent and don't know what to do. See, when attack threatens, vital civil defense information and instructions must be issued. And it can be done, Dan, as you know, through CONELRAD. Even under actual attack, these stations can continue to operate without giving the enemy navigational aid.
Well, can you explain the switchover simply, Fred?
I can try. Now, when CONELRAD goes into effect, all stations go off the air, AM, TV, and FM. The AM stations of the CONELRAD system, and there are more than 1,200 privately owned stations involved, reduce power and change their broadcasting frequency to 640 or 1240 kilocycles and then return to the air.
And the stations in cities join in a cluster of 3 or more.
That's right. The cluster broadcasts a single program. One station is on for only a few seconds, then another one picks it up and goes on. The CONELRAD audience hears a continuous program with the volume varying according to distance. The switching from station to station makes a bomber direction finder swing so erratically it can't fix or home on a single station.
And it's been tested?
Oh, yes, by our own Air Force. It's foolproof. And so is the on-off method used in smaller communities. Of course, coverage in rural areas will be limited because of the reduction in transmitting power, and some radios will go dead, but we're working on that now, Dan, right now. Both the government and the broadcasting industry.
Oh, that's something I didn't know. Oh, another thing, Fred. When the CONELRAD alert sounds, the station goes off the air for a short while, and people switch to 640 or 1240 on their regular AM sets. Now, what's the average period of silence?
Just as short as the engineers can make it. Takes a bit of doing to change broadcasting equipment, but they're getting it down finer all the time. Say, look, Dan, let's do this from the beginning, shall we? 1,200 privately owned radio stations have spent over $2 million on equipment since the CONELRAD plan was developed. It's a big story. Let's start it this way, with a fleet of enemy bombers headed over the pole. Object: H-bomb attack on target cities. The captain of the lead bomber opens his sealed orders.
Well, Captain, the target, Chicago.
We will rendezvous with other bombers over H317. Destination, the United States.
This is it. The real thing. The fleet of bombers streaks through the Arctic skies, approaches the dew line, an electronic detective chain across the northern perimeter of the hemisphere, whose sole purpose is to spot approaching enemy aircraft and flash warnings so our defense can be activated and the civilian population warned. Time now is of the essence. And the dew line, 1,200 miles from us near the 70th parallel, is our furthest outpost for warning. At one of the dew line stations, Pete Rafferty gazes incredulously at the radar scope he's scanning.
Sam, that blip on the scope. Sharp and clear. What a track. Hey, there's more. A flock of planes. Yeah, heading due south. Around 450 knots at angle 45. Hey, give me that phone. Keep your eyes peeled. This may be it. I gotta get through to NORAD.
The warning bells alert all fighter interceptor planes at the very moment Pete puts his call through to NORAD. We receive it here in the combat operations room, and our whole defense setup springs into action. Strategic Air Command, the military, the president, and the people through civil defense. Now, let's get back, shall we? Back to the dais so you can see what I'm talking about.
We went back to the combat operations room, and Fred showed me his battery of phones.
With NORAD's declaration of an air defense emergency, CONELRAD goes into effect almost immediately. And NAWAS, the National Warning System operated by the Federal Civil Defense Administration. I alert Battle Creek, FCDA regional offices, and in each of the 48 states, some 276 warning points throughout the nation.
And all by lifting that single phone.
Yes. The air divisions notify key CONELRAD stations by phone, CONELRAD goes into effect at the key stations. The other CONELRAD stations, who are constantly monitoring the key stations, pick it up